Once students have learned to answer WH questions like the who, the what, the where, when, why, well, what's next after that? We typically teach inferencing skills, but what does that involve? It actually involves a lot. Understanding the hidden meanings in stories and social interactions can be really challenging, especially for individuals on the autism spectrum. Students need to learn how to make inferences like, how do you know that, or what would happen if, or why do you think that? And they also need to predict future events, like what's going to happen next. So, what are the best ways to teach our learners inferencing?
Hi, I'm Shira.
And I'm Shayna.
We are behavior analysts who create weekly content about how to teach kids with autism so that they make real progress. And we create shareable resources to make your job just a little easier. Today's topic is all about inferencing. And if you want more videos like this, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell to stay updated on new video releases.
So, have you ever rewatched movies from when you were a kid? And, when you're a kid, you're like, oh, I really love that movie because of what have you, or you thought the storyline was about one thing, and then you watch it as an adult, and there's all these hidden jokes or all these hidden meanings within just subcontext of the way one adult looks at the other adult or things that they say. Well, that's inferencing.
It's probably a good thing that I didn't understand it at the time because most of the things I didn't understand were probably not so age appropriate.
Right? I guess the question is, well, what is inferencing? I think of inferencing as, it's an idea, it's a skill, it's like a hidden meaning, right? It's usually suggested by facts or details within whether it's a story or the context, but it's not explicitly said. It can be described as really making a logical guess.
And it's a really important skill because it comes up a lot in a lot of things. One of those is social skills, right? Being able to infer what someone else might be thinking, which we call, theory of mind or perspective taking, or being able to infer what someone else is feeling based on what's happening. How can you tell that somebody's feeling upset or that somebody is sad? Sometimes it's hard to read it on their face, but being able to learn how to make those inferences really affects a lot of social engagements and situations.
I'm binge watching Young Sheldon right now. I don't know if anybody's seen Young Sheldon or The Big Bang Theory, but Sheldon is awesome. And he is really, that's a really great example of not being able to pick up on certain social nuances and making some of those inferences for sure.
Yeah, and it's another really important skill that it comes up with is comprehension. Because when you're reading a text, or even like we said, watching a movie, being able to understand the storyline involves a lot of inferencing because not everything is explicitly written. You may have to make connections from in the story and remember what happened before and then assume what's going to happen later. There's foreshadowing that happens. All of this is a really important comprehension skill. It complements really well with what's called relational frame theory or RFT, which contributes also a lot to comprehension because being able to infer is really the same thing as being able to derive a relation. So if you can be taught that A equals B, and then you could be taught that B equals C, you could derive or you could infer that A equals C, right? You could infer something just by knowing other things that are related to that without having to be taught explicitly about that relationship. And that's when our students start to be able to really like pick up the pace with learning, when we don't have to teach every contingency explicitly, but we can teach them concepts that they then can infer, can derive relations, can make assumptions about, then that's really what's going to really impact their comprehension and their language skills.
Absolutely. And, people ask us, well, okay, so inferencing, how do we teach it? But let's talk about some prerequisite skills first. And, learners do have to have a certain amount of language and probably verbal language to be able to do these inferencing skills, or at least be able to show us that they can inference. And one of those skills is answering WH questions. So, the who, the what, the where, but really the most important one would be the why questions. And I know that, people ask really simple why questions like, why do you eat? Because I'm hungry, or why do you sleep? Because I'm tired. And those are really simplistic why questions. And a lot of those are, rote memorization. But then getting into a bit more complex why questions. And I use a book, it's called what's it called? Verbal Reasoning. It's by Jean Gillian Dugatamo. We'll put a link in our podcast episode for you. But verbal reasoning is great because it gets into a few other why questions. So there'll be pictures there, and it'll say things like, what would happen? Well, there's why questions in there, like, why do you put ice cubes in a drink? To make it colder, that kind of stuff. But also, what would happen if? What would happen if, your parents got a nail in their tire of their car? What would happen if, you left your towel at the beach? And then it would go into other why questions. Why do we have, I don't know, blinds on our windows? Why do we turn on the lights at night? Those kinds of things. And it's really nice because it gives some really great practical examples that we may not think of. And then it expands on that why. Some of them are a little bit old or may not be quite relate to your learner. You just skip those ones, but there's a lot of really great ones in there.
For more on the WH questions, go check out episode 126. We talk a lot about teaching WH questions because it is a really important prerequisite. Another place that we might start introducing it before getting into inferencing is in sequencing, kind of starting to predict. So if we're getting into 3, 4, 5 step sequences, maybe leaving out the last 1 or 2 and talking about what do you think is going to happen next? And so starting to introduce it. Inferencing and why questions are not really even age appropriate, probably before the age of 6. And then it starts to develop very slowly up until, all the way until they're 8, 9, 10, being able to really make inferences. So it's not something we would work on with a younger learner either.
I love sequencing cards. You can do so many things with them. And, taking away that last picture and saying, what do you think is going to happen next? Or what do you think is going to happen last? And the learner usually knows the answer because they've memorized that sequencing card. But even taking away a middle picture and saying, okay, so, the girl is taking off the cap of the toothpaste and now she's brushing her teeth. What did she do in between? I mean, that's an inference, right? She, had to squeeze the toothpaste onto her toothbrush. So using those things can really help as well. And that would be the beginning of inferencing and teaching it in a really concrete way, using some visuals, using those pictures.
And in addition to the visuals, we may actually do the scenarios. So if we're teaching, a certain concept, either a sequence of events or what would happen if scenario, we may act out the scenario. So instead of giving them the answer that they could potentially memorize, we might say, like, what would happen if you left ice cubes out? And then really experience that situation so that they can see the whole picture, because it is so important to talk about the comprehension piece and not just the memorization piece. In addition to that, which we talk about pretty often, is not really teaching it in terms of mastering targets, but mastering the skill. So we may not keep a student on a specific question until they've memorized the answer, but we may just move them along, exposing them to multiple questions and seeing if over time, are they getting the answers faster?
And that's one thing that we do with our programming is that, we might say, okay, if we're using a workbook format, these pictures, we can, teach the student to rote memorize everything, which isn't awesome. We want that comprehension piece. So, our mastery criteria may be, do this page twice. That's it. Move on. Do it twice, move on. And what you'll see is, maybe the first few pages, or maybe pages 1 through 10, the student is getting 0% on their baseline. Or maybe they're getting 10%, but maybe by page 15, their baseline is 20%, or their baseline becomes 40%. And then by the end pages, their baseline might be 80%. And that's what you want to see is, does that baseline, or I guess pretest on every single page, does it increase over time? And that's what we're looking for, is not that rote memorization, but, oh, I understand the question that you're asking, and I'm understanding how to answer this question.
Right. We're not looking for mastery of this question. We're looking for mastery of inferencing. And so inferencing and all of these more comprehension type skills are taught a little bit differently, in that we're not looking to teach a memorized answer. So that's usually how we teach it. We also love certain direct instruction programs that include a lot of inferencing. So things like language for learning, language for thinking, and then there's a whole comprehension series and reasoning and writing. So those will include this skill in a lot of their lessons.
I mentioned the Jean Gillian Dugatamo stuff before. It's on Great Ideas for Teaching. She's got some other great books too. So there's the verbal reasoning that I mentioned, but also Mastering Inferences, and there's Introducing Inferences, and there's lots of other things as well. So take a look there, because that's really great. There's Linguist Systems. Linguist Systems has something called 100% Language at the primary level that also teaches inferencing. And we typically teach these books and teach these inferencing programs, either in conjunction with reading comprehension or ahead of reading comprehension. Because, what we find is that students will get to a certain point. So even if they're really good decoders from a reading standpoint, they may not understand everything they're reading, because as the text gets more complex, these inferences come into the text. And then probably by about grade 3, I would say grade 2, grade 3 level of reading comprehension, there's more and more inferencing, and then the questions are related to the inferences. So if students don't understand your basics of how to answer inferences, they're going to fail at reading comprehension, even if they can decode really well. So kind of like I said, you're either running this as a parallel program to reading comprehension, or you're running it in front of, before the reading comprehension program.
And speaking of reading, like, books are amazing for this. And this you could do even with someone who's much younger. Before you turn the page, if there's something on this page, think about, oh, what do you think is going to be on the next page? And starting to bring it in while reading books, or seeing a picture in the book about, a boy who's running, and be like, where do you think he's going? Where is he running? Or somebody who's crying, and how do you think he feels? And so talking about all of these things while reading books is a really great way to starting to expose our kids and our students to talking about books and comprehension and all of these really important language skills.
Even looking at those pictures in books, right? And wait a second, that squirrel was just up in the tree and now it's down on the ground. How did it get down on the ground? What do you think? And having the learner say, well, it ran down the tree, or somebody had to go up and get it, or it jumped, or it fell, or whatever. There's no wrong answer. It's just a matter of pointing out, like, look, it was here and now it's here. What happened in between, or what's going to happen after? Those are all really great inferencing skills.
There was this little cartoon, I can't remember the name of it, but it used to have no words. And you used to just watch the cartoon. Was it Pingu?
Maybe.
Something. And you watch this little cartoon like go through its motions. And the whole thing is about like trying to figure out what it's trying to say, because it would speak in this like gibberish. And so you would try to it was fun to watch with kids while they could try to piece together exactly what's going on just by looking at the pictures. So that's a really fun activity also.
There's a lot of YouTube videos like that now as well, that are just silent videos that are kid appropriate. So you can look some of those up too for inferencing skills.
For more information on teaching prerequisite skills like inferencing, click on the link on or around this video or in the description, and you can get our WH Questions ebook. We also encourage you to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future videos, and leave a like and comment below if you have further questions.